Such a beautiful night. I am in a slightly better mood now. Like recently I posted a message, like a video that was on my downside, a bad day, and just wanted to post that. But I was reading up. I'm trying to be grateful, so I was reading up. I'm not trying to be this spiritual guru or like a new influencer and trying to... I have a lot of history of how to deal with depression or suffering and all that from a lot of the different scriptures or thought leaders or gurus that are already out there, quote unquote spiritual leaders, like the Power of Now and Sadhguru, Eckhart Tolle. So like years and years of just pretty much knowing the pointers on how to do it or how to deal and how to cope with some of these issues that come up with the ego and identity. But suffering sometimes just comes about, and cognitive thinking is, I guess, like the way you're supposed to try to grab these thoughts before they become emotions. So maybe that's something you don't know. I was reading a book about, I think it's cognitive thinking. Well, that just sounds in general. There's something about, well, I'll find the name. It doesn't matter. But the point is the study of how thoughts become emotions and release chemicals in the body. So if you could grab your thought before you get taken over by the depressing emotion or the sad thought that was just hypothetical, it's usually possibly a story that you're rudimenting on and thinking over again and again, and you're beating yourself up or resentful about yourself, or you're just reliving the trauma and you're traumatized, and that creates chemical and I don't know if endorphins would be the word, but synapses in the brain that then release chemicals to make you down and sad and lethargic and upset and gloomy. And then you look out at the world with your reticular activating system, your RAS, and you start to see negative things, and you start to see what's wrong and all the broken things and all the stuff like that, and woe is me kind of shit. So it's like we almost like filter and magnetize what we think of, and we gravitate more of it to us. So I sort of did that the other day. So I'm not trying to preach all this knowledge. I'm just kind of regurgitating stuff that I've learned from many other people. But if you could grab the thought, like say before you get frustrated or the other thing would be fear of the future, some assumption, some unknown that you're worrying about or hypothetically exaggerating, and you intensify that thought. It's just a concept in the head, a predetermined thought that you think an outcome may happen, but you have no idea what may happen. And then you sort of react with emotions through those thoughts. So it's thought, and then emotions follow that, and then actions usually follow, unfortunately, after that. And that's when people become physically violent or verbally violent, or lash out or bang their toe or slam a door, or aggressive behaviors happen physically after you're emotionally caught up in a storm of sadness, anger, frustration, and fixed thought. So it's kind of like and it's usually also exaggerated thought. So it's like a very peaked out, not bipolar, a polar extreme of whatever. Like, my life sucks, this is the worst. Those are very intense quotes. These are very big labels, like I'm a loser, or I hate this life, I hate my life, or everything, this always happens to me. Like, really? Does it always, like every single day, happen to you? Or do you really, really hate your life completely? Or figures this is my luck, like it's just a big exaggeration clumped up into this big heavy label that really condemns, like it's just too much. So what I'm trying to say is it's very polar extreme when we use these words and concepts, and the brain believes them. So we got to try our best to be careful of what we're saying, how we're exaggerating it, how we're over intensifying it, and maybe just calming it down and saying what it really is. Like, today was a bit of a bump in the road. Today I was a little off my mood, or something didn't happen financially today. It's not forever. I'm not always broke. I'm not always getting rejected. I'm not always messing up and being late on a job. These are personal things that are coming in my head because of some of my bad habits. I'm not always not planning and allocating my taxes and things like that. So, I'm being honest and vulnerable that it's not always, some days I get up early and I'm on time. Some days I do click and, a significant other does come about and we have a union in some way. Some days I get this big check, like I have a check in my back pocket I'm about to go cash. Thank God, I have to really be grateful, because there's days when I've had scraping rock bottom, or I didn't know where the next rent was going to come from, and that was not too recent. And so it's like we really have to value that it's not always bad times and it's not always good times, as a reminder as well. But be careful of how you're thinking from the get-go. Usually arguments, and when people get into these, we're going in circles, and it's just this really intoxicating emotions and trauma and drama that's going on between two people, a debate that then turns into a big yelling fucking screaming match. That usually starts with small thoughts and two people being stubborn or whatever and trying to explain each other, and then we get clouded with emotion, and we actually are so numb to what they're saying because we're so filled with anger and anxiety and pain and whatever, anger, and we are chemically flooded that we can't even think straight. We can't even hear what they're actually saying. They may have found a solution that meets both ways, but we can't hear it because we're so filled and we're really ready to shoot it off, So in the beginning, catch yourself. Like right now I'm going on a bit of a tangent. I said I was just gonna spontaneously make a recording, try to be positive, and I said I wasn't gonna preach, but some of this wisdom is coming out because I feel that I know what I'm, sometimes what I'm talking about. Not financial advice, don't trust me. But I do sometimes remember some of these, powerful messages or lessons that I've learned or will continue to try to learn. And there's definitely something, I think, in these 2 cents. This is just my little bit of 2 cents. See how I'm kind of backtracking and being a little doubtful, and I don't want to sound like I'm preaching from the high horse and being like, oh, I know what you should do, because I really don't know myself, and a lot of times I'm blinded. And definitely there's a point where you can get emotionally thrown back, and it's hard to ground yourself again. So just be careful of that, and I hope your day is well. Blessings.